special show for you tonight, or an event. I'd like to say a discussion, if you will.
It's all. You know, man. I mean, I just want to say this. I was looking up the definition of murder versus killing today because I was curious. Because everybody on the news was saying, well, this man, especially all the people who are trying to get something done, kept saying this man was killed on the streets. Killed? Well, that's what happens when you hit a deer or an antelope, or you kill it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a kill, right? And then when the charges drop, they say 2nd-degree murder, 1st-degree murder, but no one uses that word to describe this man's death. It's a killing. No, it's a murder, man. And the most traumatic thing for me was witnessing a murder live.
Yeah.
Like I had never seen, I've seen people get shot at, whatever. People get shot at. But I had never witnessed a murder. Not a killing. I witnessed killings, killings of animals and stuff all witnessed it. Never a murder. And yet that is such a hard word for people because they think they have to sort of smooth it over by saying he was killed by, he was murdered, man. Well, let's put that on the table and deal with it.
I think that's a problem. I was just going to say, I think that's a problem a lot of people have, though, that we're trying to get in people's faces, is you have to be uncomfortable. People are uncomfortable speaking about stuff like that. They're uncomfortable admitting that something was a murder. They're uncomfortable. They're worried they're going to say something wrong. And it's that's the whole point here, is you've got to get uncomfortable now.
The hardest conversations are difficult conversations, but it's so much bigger in people's minds, these conversations, and the fear of having them, that once you start to have them, you find out you make it so much more scarier in your mind. Like M. Night Shyamalan said something once about directing a movie, and he was talking about why, I think it might've been for Signs or something like that. And they're like, why don't you show the monsters or something like that? And he said, because the person's mind makes something 1,000 more times scary than I could ever put on a screen. And I think that's the same thing we get inside of our heads during a conversation. You lead up to this and you're just tripping out. You're like, oh my God, I got to have this. And then you do it and you're like, damn, that was not that hard.
And so meanwhile, you just have all these convoluted messages and bullshit floating around the universe, and all these people in the bottom line are trying to get paid for this, and most of them are getting paid very handsomely if they have followings, and they're spreading misinformation, they're spreading hate and fear, and that's what makes money. Because just like M. Night Shyamalan, it's like fears, you're going to make a lot more money off fear than you are going to be just saying what's in reality, because unfortunately, reality can be boring. I mean, that's the thing. People have to vote. The choices are ours, whether we take them or we don't. And if you don't vote, you're creating a huge vacuum for lunatics.
But also that's the emphasis on people educating themselves, because if you vote and you don't know who you're voting for, that's a problem too. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But I do want to chime in on the media thing. So since COVID hit, I've been in Wisconsin with my family. I haven't even been back to my apartment. I wasn't planning to be gone for more than 2 weeks. So I've been here for 3 months. I live in Los Angeles. So in LA, where I've been for 9 years, we're exposed to one type of media. It's a very democratic media. It's a very liberal media.
Yeah.
And literally, I kid you not, physically being here in Wisconsin, I have to call my friends in LA and New York to find out what's actually going on, because the media you get here, even on your phone in Apple News, the first 3 things that pop up, it's completely different. Geographically, where you are and where GPS is pinging you at, you're getting different information.
Think about that. And that's not conspiracy. That's literal. They're literally just taking money out of people's pockets in order to make, you want to feel like this? Oh, sure. Get XJ612. You know what I mean? It's it's horrible.
There's so many elements that need to be focused on here. It's education, it's law enforcement, it's politics, and it's media. These are things that really feed into one another and detract from the
Well,
people.
All about that money. All about that money.
Yeah.
And
I want to say something about voting that you brought up. Listen, voting did not stop Mr. Floyd's murder.
Agreed.
Voting did not stop Aubrey's murder, right? It didn't stop that. Voting, there's a misconception about voting that voting is the end all, right?
No, it's
That
not.
is going to resolve problems. It is not.
Right.
No.
Racism has been in existence for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
We are now bringing more light on the matter, but it is not voting that these people, when all these protesters got up and they were white and they were black, that wasn't voting, but that made a change. When people start demonstrating, they have been screaming in their communities for way beyond that protest. And I thought something that was so dismissive when someone said, hey, these people who came in and looted, they don't really represent our community. Our community does. That's dismissive. That community was screaming, and those people were just throwing gas on the fire. But
You
that
know,
community, let me just finish this, and I'll let you go, Ernie.
Yeah.
That community was screaming, and it wasn't screaming for the right to vote. It was screaming for change.
Mm-hmm.
Change, not November every 4 years,
Yeah.
but screaming for change.
Supposing that we looked at this coming November from a position of like, okay, we have to vote to change something. I get it. But to chime in on something that James was saying, how do I as a person of color win here? So if I don't vote for Trump, say Trump wins again, right? Or Biden wins again, how do I win as a person of color? This is literally the reason that I brought up that that situation that's going on in Brooklyn right now about feeling locked in is because on a much more of a macro level, that's generally how people like me feel. Because think about it, right now we're being told you have a choice between a reality TV star who is out of his fucking mind, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody who actually helped design the laws that are putting people like me unjustly into the prison industrial complex to begin with for the last 20 plus years and making highbrow people tons of money. How do I win here?
That's
Right.
a good point.